Good morning. Good morning. Hi, Casey. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. Thank you. I am decked out. You can't see my skirt, but I am all sorts of pink this morning. Yep. We have a hot family date planned to see the Barbie movie at the drive-in this weekend with our girls.
Oh, fun.
I know, isn't that? We'll hope they can hold through. Although it's so hot out, we'll see how that goes. But that is very timely because we're here today to talk about property. And you know this. I grew up in Bellevue, and there is a drive-in nearby in Macokota. And we used to grow up going there. We'd go there in high school. It'd be like after a softball game. That would be the group outing. And it got me thinking about the weather. I can remember thunderstorms and tornado warnings, and the drive-in would have to shut. And so my husband and I were just talking about that with the heat, and what if it storms, and what does that look like, and how are we going to put four children in a car in 100 and some degree heat to watch a movie? But it really has got me thinking, and it's very relevant because of our conversation surrounding property and extreme weather and exposures and all of the fun stuff that comes with that.
Yeah, and it's a lot for you and me personally trying to get our arms around the property that we own. That is a task. I mean, if you do what the insurance agents tell you to do, which is go around each room and record it and save that recording, heck of a lot easier today than it was, 15 years ago. But that is a process that most of us don't do ourselves personally. And then you think of a public entity, and even the smallest of public entities has a lot of property. Even the smallest of cities has a lot of property that getting their arms around is really difficult. And they also, the smaller the entity, a lot of times don't have a great number of people working on their behalf. So it is a process. It is a lot of time. And it's something that, frankly, I've been working with public entities on my entire career, is making sure that their schedules are adequate and properly reflect what they have, so that at the time of a loss, they have the coverage they need.
Well, I'm always hesitant to talk about it because I feel like we've talked about it so much recently. But I think that while we keep talking about it, we also keep getting information on the other side about these are the issues public entities are facing. These are the weather trends. This is what's coming to the Midwest. This is what's happening in, the reinsurance marketplace. And so we know that there are all these different factors. And so while I certainly don't want to keep talking about property, it's so necessary. And we were just reading the other day, right? And I know you've had a lot of discussions on the topic about reinsurance is really ugly on property right now because there are so many exposures and gaps in valuations and losses coming in, right? And I'm not talking about ICAP specifically. I'm talking about municipalities in general, individuals as well, for what that's worth. And, that's not what we're here to discuss, but it's just across the board that there just seem to be all of these losses. And that, just like we say, when rates go up for reinsurance, it trickles down and it impacts all of us. When the losses increase, it funnels up, and it's just this continual circle, if you will. And so we know that, the rumor mill is talking, articles are being published. Speculation is that property reinsurance is going to be really, really tough.
What I can say is I was hoping, with the quietness, of what I think this year has provided as far as weather goes. ICAP has seen some pretty big property claims related to fires and those kinds of things. And what I feel like is hitting the market nationally is values. I think that it's coming, I really think it's coming down to values, because when an insurance carrier charges premium, it's based on the values of the building. This is for property. It's based on the building values, right? And so they charge an adequate amount, what the actuaries say they should charge for that limit of building, and charge that amount for their underwriting it. When the values aren't right, they're not charging enough for the exposure. And with inflation the way that it's been, particularly, I don't think values are always hard. I've been battling values my whole career because they change pretty frequently and they're not addressed every year. Who has time to look at the values from year to year on every single piece of property? But it's really important, particularly on some property over others, and we'll focus on that when we dig in on these. Primarily when insurance carriers don't have the right values, they're not charging an adequate amount for the exposure. And then when they have not enough premium to pay the bills, they have to raise the price. And then you look at the stock market, and the stock market is so difficult right now. They don't have anything that they can rely on to help with those costs.
I think we have two separate issues, really. Well, there's a lot more than two issues, because if you get into the weather, you're down a whole nother train of, track of issues. But with respect to what I think we need to tackle with the membership and agent base, I think the values are a huge issue. We've talked a lot about the values of heavy equipment, and that is for sure something that we need to focus, that we need to draw attention to, that we need to start to rectify, right? To close the gap in what's listed and what's needed. But the values of buildings and property and even smaller items. We just went through our home insurance renewal, and I was adding up the tech. My husband's a tech guy. He's a tech nerd. But just adding up the value of tech in our house, you guys, I had no idea. Because I'm not a tech person. I don't enjoy it. I don't want to know anything about it. I was flabbergasted to start to go, well, this computer costs this much, and this costs this much, and this costs this much. It's amazing. Now, as you said, that's on an individual level. Take it to a public entity, and where most departments don't know what the other departments have, right? It's really easy to see how people lose track.
Oh, for sure. When you said departments, that can be a real tricky problem, because some entities have, where they have purchase orders, and all of the departments flow their purchase orders through one person, like in counties, it's usually auditor's office, things like that, where it all comes to one place. And then that one person, where it's funneled through, make sure that they let their insurance agent know that they have all this property changes. But a lot of entities don't have enough personnel to handle things that way. And they don't have enough time to do it that way. So they have different departments buying different things and not all having some sort of unified approach to getting it on the statement of values and schedules.
Well, and if I may, I'd throw one other thing on the know-how. So going to the conversation about some of the properties or the items that we might think of as structures, for example, that should be listed as buildings on the SOV. And I know you and I were just talking about this. With playgrounds, for example, or radio towers, things like that. I think that there is a lack in the know-how, or a lapse in the know-how of how to list some of these things. So that's why we're going to host these SOV workshops in August, September, and October, one per month. They're going to be short sessions, but the goal of them is to literally pull up a sample statement of values on screen and walk through it and say, this is how things should be listed. This is what this column means, this column means, this column means. This is what these values, how you determine these values. This is how it relates to your coverage. This is how to ensure you have the right value listed. All of the gritty little details that are really easy to miss, but are so, so important and so instrumental in ensuring that in the event of a loss, be it weather related, fire related, coffee spilt in the wrong place, whatever it is, in the event of a loss, we can ensure that the pool is able to provide the member the appropriate amount of coverage. So I know we'll talk about those. I know we'll get into the details on those, but I definitely think it's worth plugging that this is sort of what we're seeing as a gap or an issue that needs to be addressed, and we are absolutely dedicated to helping members address it and work through those statements of value.
I think that the process, it could be painful for some, but very beneficial for all. And I think it's also important when you go into this. A lot of times I'll work with a public entity, and there will be some embarrassment even that they're missing some property or things like that. And I always tell them, listen, this is on every single member. I promise you I can find something that is missing. And even more so, there are just a couple entities that we work with locally, and I work really closely with them on their statement of values and things. And we do this every year. We go through their statement of values every year, and every year we find something we were missing. Every year. And everybody's trained to do the same thing. So even if you get the process perfectly down right, not that we do, we obviously don't, but once you get it down and you're really good at it, you're still going to miss things. It is a full-time job, it feels like. But we're going to give tips, Megan, on, first of all, how to read it, how to track the documents and they work together, because that's another misconception, is how the statement of values and the additional property schedule actually do work together, and one references the other. And so those nuances are something that a lot of folks don't understand, and we're going to walk through that stuff too when we go through our reviews of the nitty-gritty. I like that.
So we're actually breaking it down 3 different months: August, September, October, 3 different sessions. I think we're planning about 30 minutes each per session. It's for anyone that owns property, anyone that works with the property owned by the member, anybody who this falls in their lap, or if they think, hey, I should know how to value or know what this is worth. Anyone, members, agents, everyone. Come join us for that. The first session on that is going to be the 17th of August. So that's a Thursday. We're going to do it from 10 to 10:30 a.m. Of course, if there are member questions, we'll stay on longer. We'll do whatever we need to do to help you work through it. But we're breaking it out by SOV. So that first session, we're going to talk exclusively about the property SOV. The second session, which is actually going to be September 14th, also at 10 a.m., we're going to talk about the miscellaneous property SOV. And then the third session, which is going to be the 26th of October, and we'll email all these details out. But that third session, we're going to talk about the auto SOV. And it's so funny. I had a call recently with a local police chief, and he was talking about an issue he was having with some folks in the department, and he was saying they don't know what this stuff costs. And he started going through the items in the cruisers that he was referencing, and saying, we've got to take care of this, and they don't understand what this actually cost us. And I was going, the thing is, you're talking about individual items too. Start to add all of those items up. That has to be factored into the vehicle value. In many instances, it's not, right? Or it's not kept up to date, or things are added to a vehicle, what I would say sort of ad lib, of the moment. Oh, we better add this in here. And it isn't accounted for when the vehicle is listed on that schedule, and it doesn't get added later, and that leads to these gaps that we're talking about. So anyways, I'm going down a rabbit hole. I digress. We're going to talk about some of those issues. We're going to talk about some of those nuances and needs, and we're going to do it in really easy to follow, easy to digest sessions. Yeah, chunks. Chunks is a good word, Casey. But anyways, there's information on that coming. I think that this is an important conversation. I think it's a really timely conversation, and I think it's one that should be ongoing. It's one we need to be having.
Yeah. Yeah. It honestly, it has been one, like I've said this has been primarily my career, focusing on making sure members have adequate coverage. And it's something I used to give a presentation every single year, had the same slide deck, everything. Every year, everybody wanted to hear it again, because it's just so simple. It's just pictures of different things that need to be scheduled. And so, yeah, we're going to chunk it up. We're going to get into the nitty gritty, but we're going to make it digestible so that hopefully it is something that anyone can tackle if they want to. And we'll keep talking about it until people are tired of it and tell us.
Until then, right? Until then. Yeah, it is good. It's one of, I think, many ongoing conversations. And I, for one, am really really glad we're having it. And I know we've heard from several members and agents that feel the same. So we'll include details on those upcoming workshops. They are, of course, compliments of the pool. We're offering them for you. We hope that you will join us, that you'll attend. But we'll send additional information out on those each month leading up to the individual workshops. And as always, if there's individualized help that you need or you have a specific question, by all means, please feel free to reach out to anyone on the ICAP team outside of those workshops, and we'll make sure that we get you the assistance you need. One other thing I think before we sign off is I would just mention that we are sort of working through some details on a new valuations offerings that we hope to bring to the table over the coming months, certainly by 2024. So we're working on those details in the back end. We're having a lot of discussions about them. But as we said, we know that there's a need. We know that there's certainly a benefit. And so that's something we're working on to make sure we can provide for the membership as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the conversations you've been having. I can't wait till we can actually, talk about it a little bit more freely.
Yeah, definitely. Well, until then, we'll send information out on those workshops. Members, agents, if you have questions, if you need anything, let us know. In the meantime, stay cool because it is going to be another,
so hot.
I know, summer in the Midwest. Enjoy.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Thank you.